The Snow Queen was published on December 21st, 1844 by Hans Christian Andersen. Got another one here for you guys, I think. Oh no, that was it. The story was widely successful, and and is about two young children overcoming the odds against the evil Ice Queen. It's broken down into 7 short stories, and it was apparently written and inspired by a Swedish opera singer known as Jenny Lind. And Jenny Lind was someone that Hans Christian Andersen was completely in love with, and she rejected him horribly, so he created the character of the Ice Queen, because apparently she had not a very nice personality other than being icy. Yeah, I know. Noses. Mwah. So pretty. Who's a pretty nose? The first short story is about the mirror being created by a demon and his demon school, and it turned good people into evil, and evil things were enhanced. So they brought it up to the heavens to to basically mock the angels. But on their way there, they dropped it. And of course, it shattered across the heaven, or across the world. That's my mouse. And into thousands of shards, which went into the eyes and the hearts of men, making them more and more evil over time. We all know men's sect, don't we? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The story then starts with Gerda and her little friend Kay, who were neighbors, and they loved each other quite dearly. When Kay one day accidentally got a shard into his eye, it risked going into his heart, and he became cruel towards his friends and to the people that he knew, so that he was ridiculing them, he was breaking things, he was ripping up roses that Gerda loved. And of course, when this happened, one day he hooked his sled onto the Snow Queen's sleigh, as she had been visiting in town. When this happened, surprisingly, there we go. When this happened, she took him off, and basically he became the slave to the Snow Queen. For weeks, everyone was convinced that Kay was dead. So one day, Gerda, his only friend, went off to find him. She was asking the flowers and the birds, and of course they would answer saying no, they hadn't seen him. She accidentally becomes adrift, comes across this old woman in the woods, who then decided to keep Gerda as her own child. Gerda, under the magic spell, forgets about her friend and her mission, and stays in the garden until one day the roses come up and say they haven't seen Kay in the ground. So she goes off, remembering that, she had a mission to do. She comes to a crow, and the crow warns her that, no, I haven't seen him, but I heard that the princess of these lands has taken a new prince who showed up in, really crappy-looking clothing, and, it sounded like Kay. So she goes with the crow, they sneak into the palace, discover that, no, it's not her friend Kay, it is genuinely some handsome-looking kid who just showed up and became prince one day. Because apparently that's what you need to do. The princess, being kind, gives Gerda a chariot, and a golden one with footmen and provisions to continue on with her mission. Of course, this brings more havoc than she anticipated, and a family of robbers find her, kill the footman and the chariot driver, whoever, kill them all, leaving Gerda at the mercy of this family. And the family was going to eat her until the family's daughter, known as the little robber girl in this part of the short stories, says, no, I want to keep her, she's going to be my toy. Because this girl was a psychopath. And, for instance, this girl, every evening, liked to have her pet reindeer take her knife and just run it slowly across its neck. Not enough to cut it, but just as a warning. Gerda does plead and, amuse the girl enough that the little robber girl lets Gerda go. and gives the reindeer, thankfully, who was obviously going through a lot of trauma. She continues her journey and she heads towards the Finnmark, as the doves had told her to go, or sorry, the wood pigeons told her to go that direction. When she's in the Finnmark, which is a northern part of Norway, actually there was a really cool Viking who was the first Viking to name both Denmark and Norway, who lived in this part. His name was Othere. Othere the Viking. Pretty easy to remember. And the Finnmark, it's filled at this point with Sami people, who are a group of Finns, and the Kvens, who are also Norwegian Finns. So she goes there and comes across the Lapp woman, who basically instructs her to head a certain direction to meet up with the Finn woman, who lived very close to the summer home of the Snow Queen. So she heads off from the Lapp woman's with some dried fish. They go to the Snow Queen, or the Finn woman, who basically lived in a sauna, and who then gives her directions of how to get to the palace. When she arrives at the palace, she discovers that her friend was there, and he had been employed by the Snow Queen to put all the little bits of the evil mirror together. And since part of it was still in his eye, like, he was very good at this job. And luckily, the Snow Queen decided she was going to go off on her own little trip. She was going to Mount Vesuvius and Mount Etna to look into the cauldrons of the earth. Because apparently they were not dormant at this time. So questions of when the story could have been written. So she was off. Gerda meets her friend. Her hot tears welcome her friend home, as they were the power and the strength that she needed, because her innocence basically broke the spell. So it melted that shard of mirror. They head home. They live happily ever after. And the Snow Queen wasn't evil. She just wanted someone to look after her mirror, which isn't such a bad thing when you think about it, because I haven't seen a mirror I haven't liked before. And of course, this story inspired many authors. You see it in operas, C.S. Lewis, the Snow Queen in Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and unfortunately some movies, which are pretty crap, and I will not ever watch those. It's the Snow Queen. She's not so evil after all, is she? So, since I'm outside, I'm a little chilly. Not too chilly, but I'm using beer as my warmth. So you can check me out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and of course, like and subscribe if you can, and listen to Star Wars on Legends Library. See ya!